All right, I am going skateboarding on my favorite non-beach path. It's been cold for a while, so I've only been going on shorter rides, which kind of sucks. But this path was closed for some months after the 2 hurricanes we had, and it took a long time for it to open up. But here we are, and it's been open for a couple weeks, and now I can have fun on it again. This is Seminole Lake Park. It's a 2-mile loop through some woods beside Seminole Lake. It's really good for windy days because all the trees block all the wind. And it can be good or bad because the trees block all the sun too. So sometimes I like to be in the sun. And if it rains, it's kind of slow to dry here. So there's a little bit of negative, but there's some good too. It's popular sometimes a day, but most people are cool. There's occasional dick who doesn't pick up after their dog. And there's the old ladies who walk side by side and clutch their pearls if you dare ask them to share the path. And then there's a bunch of dorks who go the wrong way, even though it's clearly marked. And there are a lot of turns and some spots you can't see super far ahead of you. So probably the last one's going to cause a crash at some point. But I guess that's what it takes for some people to learn. But on the upside, there are alligators here. So if they're out sunning themselves, you can take some photos or whatever. Because of the turniness and the people, it's not the fastest path around, but I like it. So here we are, Seminole Lake Park, riding around this week, mostly making little changes to some setups while I'm collecting some new parts to swap out and use for Ultraskate that's coming up. Lots of people probably already thinking about that, but I'm just starting to. I started out buying some new wheels. I got a set of speed vents and a set of megawatts, both in mint from Insanity Board Shop. I usually buy from companies like Seismic I get wheels from, and Loaded I get wheels from, and Bones wheels I get from Skate One, and I think that's all the wheels that I buy. But whenever I think about it and I look at Insanity Board Shop, they usually have what I'm looking for, and it ships quick, and they support Ultraskate, so I should probably check them first more often. I'm probably going to have 2 similar setups, with one being a touch longer and having the bigger megawatts, and one a little bit smaller and having the speed vents. And although I did really like the dad bods last year, I wanted to pump more, so I was going to shy away from those. But now that I think about it and say that out loud, I might still want to use dad bods because they do feel the bigness feels good on that track. But we'll think there's some time. I'll decide that. I also got my new shoes on. I got some wide Hokas because I like them, and they're comfortable and they're wide. And I've been trying different socks. Like, I know I'm not going to train and I'm not going to change my physical abilities much, so I kind of look for ways to trick myself into thinking that I'm doing better or easy. Something's going to be easier. So I started looking at some ultra running subreddits, and I read a lot about socks for some reason. And learning as I went in long distance skateboarding, I tape a couple of spots on my toes and feet to avoid friction with KT tape, this stuff. And I think that I had it only if I'm going far, I'm talking like 40, 50 plus miles, is where I start to think about that and do it. And I have it pretty dialed in where I need tape and what works. But instead, for some rides lately, I've been using toe socks and then another pair of wool socks over it. And it's super comfortable, and it seems to do the same thing for the friction as the tape does. And then, I never tried this, but according to the subreddit, after you've been running for 100 miles, or in my case, or our case, skateboarding for 100 miles, and your feet swell, and if you ditch the outer socks, you have more room in your shoes and you'll feel back to normal. And I don't know, maybe it'll trick me into thinking I'm more comfortable. Maybe I will be more comfortable, but I'm going to try it. And if I get a blister, whatever. I've got blisters before, they hurt. But then I feel like after a few miles, if you ignore it hurting, it goes away. I guess your body like gives up when you don't listen to it sometimes. What else? I had smaller Valkyrie Slalom. The bigger Valkyrie Slalom, the one that's like 145 millimeter, is my favorite truck, front truck. And I had a smaller one, like the 115, 125, something like that. I think it might be adjustable to those two, on a top mount pumper that I enjoyed playing with. And for the heck of it, I tried it on the new smaller GBomb composite bracket, and it works, and I'm surprised. I thought I'd get bracket bite or something would happen if I went that narrow. But so far it's cool. And that's something I'm curious about the next week or two, pumping, to see if there's any difference between going to a narrower front truck for pumping that has, the same truck, just narrower. See which one I like more. But another thing, I always wanted a watch, but the Apple Watch doesn't work through my tattoos, and it makes me grumpy. So I tried a Whoop for a year, like maybe a year and a half ago, and it was cool, but you don't get any real-time feedback from it. It just tracks you, and then you find out stuff later. So a few months ago, I tried I have to look at it, Koros watch, and it's a GPS, and I tried a small one, and I really like being able to see my speed and whatnot in real time, so I just got a giant one. I didn't get a giant one on purpose. I got the one they make that had the longest battery life with the GPS and all the other shit on. So it's the only one that, according to their statistics on the thing, said it would make it through like a whole 24-hour period with everything turned on and everything tracking the GPS. So on a single charge. So I got it, and it's giant, and I'm learning a bunch of things that it does, and it's very fun. It's weird because I forget some things. Like, I'll remember the parameters in an elevator that I haven't worked on for years if someone calls me and asks me about it. But every time I walk out of a grocery store, I have no idea where my car is. Like, someone could move it while I'm in there, and I would look around and eventually find it, and I would have no idea that I didn't park there. I just lose that. I don't care about it, I guess. I lose that information for some reason. And I feel like it's the same way at Ultraskate. Melissa can tell me what lap I'm on, and 4 minutes later, if I think what lap I will have no idea within 10 laps where I'm at. So I can set this watch to add a lap every 1.5 miles, and then always be able to look down and have a rough count of what lap I'm on. I don't know if that's good or bad. And it tells me all kinds of other stats, like my speed that I'm going currently, like average speed since the start of the race, average speed of the last lap, pace per mile, pace since the beginning, a bunch of other things that I don't know how to look at, and a bunch of other things that I don't even know what they mean. So I don't know how useful knowing any of these things will be during an Ultraskate, but the novelty of being able to see all this information about what's going on with me is fun, and I don't know, it's fun to play with so far. The only thing that made me mad about it was it stopped a few times, and I couldn't understand why, so I put it on upside down with the buttons and spinny thing going up my arm instead of towards my hand, and it didn't happen again. So I guess I have a bendier wrist than the Koros people or something, because the top of my hand must have been messing with the buttons and shutting it off, because it hasn't happened since. So I think that's good. The last time I talked in a video, I said I wish Paris made some 125s, and someone said hey, they do, dummy. So apparently I must have heard or seen Paris 125s, and then that was stuck in my head saying, I really want Paris 125s. But it didn't. I didn't make the connection that they already did. So they already do, and I ordered a set, and they're fun too. What else? I think that's it. Anyway, I hope to see everyone at Ultra. Until then, have fun and be careful.